Guys, welcome back. It is Tuesday morning. We are ready with another show. This is going to be action-packed. There's going to be quite a few takeaways for you. We've got a lot of information around social strategy. It's something you should be focused on for 2019. As you will see, this is not Deer. This is Dali. It's like Deer, but better.
Middle Eastern as well.
Dali is our head of social media at Create Media Group. He knows all things social. He is the brains behind a lot of the operations that we do across multiple accounts that we manage, including some that we actually haven't announced yet, the big one. So we're not going to announce it now. Soon. We're waiting for contracts to be signed. Yeah. So Dali, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. Dali, I think you said everything already. So yeah, what Tom said. Yeah.
All of the things.
What Tom said.
So Dali's, myself and Dali sat down yesterday and we spoke about, what are the core things that people need to get right for 2019 when they're starting to plan out their social strategy? So we've got a list of five takeaways. We're going to dive in just for a little bit into each one of them. Hopefully you'll learn something. Hopefully you'll find some takeaways from there, something that you can apply to your brand. We are trying to make it focus both on smaller brands if you don't have a budget, and we're also going to give you some options if you do have a budget and you're running a larger, let's say, a corporate marketing department. So we've got both for you. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I see a few people jumping in on Instagram Live there. So Dali, what's the first one you have for us?
So I think the first one I want to talk about is social listening. So this is something that has been on the rise for a long time, but people have been using it for reporting, for seeing how the sentiment is doing around their brand, or finding people who just mentioned their brand and how to reply to them. But I think in 2019 it needs to relate back to content strategy as well.
Okay.
So we need to see what people are talking about in terms of what they're looking to see from that brand, or what they're looking to see in that industry if you're running a brand, and then how we can fill that gap with our content.
Okay, so interesting. So I mean, one of the things that we spoke about offline as well is around a lot of people when they're managing a brand at the moment, if they get tagged, then they might respond.
Yeah.
Hopefully they should respond. Hopefully you are responding. But there's a whole other step to take. And that's going to differentiate your brand from your competitors in 2019. It's social listening and actually engaging in conversations. There's two sides to this. It's engaging in conversations that are happening around the topic of your brand or the brand itself, if you haven't been tagged. And secondly, understanding, as you were saying earlier, around these content gaps.
Exactly.
So if you're looking within the vertical of your industry, what are people talking about that is not currently being serviced by your content? So if people are speaking about a specific area of nutrition and you're in that game and you don't have an opinion on that, you're not putting any content out about that, but through social listening, you see there's a whole conversation going on around this that's super relevant to the sort of the space that you're in. That should direct you for 2019 to say, right, well, let's make content that fits this conversation, not just around creating content for your brand and then trying to find the people that want to listen, but it's actually listening to them first, right?
The other way around.
So how would a small brand do that?
So there are a lot of tools actually. So if you don't have any budget for a tool, you can just use TweetDeck. And it's a very simple tool to use. You just set up streams of hashtags, keywords, and mentions of your brand. Your community manager or someone who's looking after your brand should be already using this, because it's just a great way to put on a screen, see everything that's happening on your Twitter feed, for example. But it's also a great way to identify these content gaps, see what people are talking about in the social space. Because also put yourself in the user perspective. When you're moaning about a brand, sometimes you just don't mention the brand. You just moan about them in the social space and hope that your friends will moan back with you.
Yeah.
So TweetDeck is definitely a great way for brands who don't have any budget.
And Hootsuite something similar? Hootsuite, we can set up the same sort of structure, right?
Yeah, so definitely Hootsuite is more advanced because it gives you the analytics, it gives you the sentiment analysis. Other tools that are similar as well are Sisomos, which is like a big tool in the industry.
There's not a free version of Sisomos, though, is there?
No.
As far as I'm aware. So that would be sort of maybe a slightly larger budget brand doing that. But the concept is the same. As you were saying there with TweetDeck or Hootsuite, you set up those streams. And if you... It might not make much sense to you unless you actually go on, but it's very quick. You can just go and have a quick look at this now. Go on to either of those platforms, and you can set up streams where you, as you said, you can put a keyword, you can put a hashtag, and then anybody that mentions those, anybody that uses those words, their conversation will come into that stream. So then you can just slowly monitor. As this conversation's coming into the stream, you can monitor what people are saying around that keyword, right?
Exactly.
So you can really start to understand what people are saying in your industry.
Just find similarities, find what people are looking for when they're searching about your brand, or definitely the industry itself. There's another tool I think it's worth mentioning because it's here in the Middle East, which is called Crowd Analyzer.
Yeah,
We've
they've
been using
done
it
done
for-
very well.
Yeah, we've been using it for multiple clients actually, which they specialize in analyzing the Arabic sentiment, which is something that
Okay.
doesn't exist in the bigger tools.
Sure.
So they analyze the different dialects of Arabic, which
Mhm.
is something really important for brands here in the Middle
Well,
East.
look, it's critical, especially for larger brands.
Yeah.
You can't only be speaking to half the community.
No. So yeah, that's something really good.
Great.
But filling the content gaps also takes us to the second point, which is really important, which I think everyone watching has already thought that we're going to talk about this,
Yeah.
which is video content.
Look, video content, and as we said, like it might sound quite generic. You've heard this before, but we can't stress enough how important video content is. I mean, you heard an interesting stat from Cisco recently. What was that?
So it says that 80% of content that we're going to consume by 2020 is just going to be video.
Which is amazing. So
Online,
that's
over the
all
internet.
that's all traffic on the
All
internet.
traffic on the internet,
80%.
80% is going to be video. And we've definitely seen that from the shift of Facebook to a more video platform. Instagram itself has begun as like an inspirational visual platform,
Yeah,
but is now turning more and more into video, especially on stories,
yeah,
on the timeline itself, and live video.
yeah, and live video. So it's we need to think of video in multiple different areas. Vertical video is obviously a space that is still growing rapidly. There's a reason why Facebook rolled out Facebook Stories. LinkedIn are rolling out LinkedIn. YouTube have just rolled out YouTube Stories. I mean, I think LinkedIn's going to be an interesting one, but they're also rolling out stories for groups now as well within Facebook. So the reason being is because the data is telling the major platforms, and you have to understand if they do something, they generally do something based on a large amount of information that the rest of us don't generally have. So they're looking at the data points. They can see very clearly that vertical video is still massively on the rise. I mean, Instagram is going from strength to strength. So as a smaller brand or even as a larger brand, you need to understand how are you creating content specifically for vertical. It's something that we do specialize in, and we do a lot of it for brands. We start to do more and more for the likes of Emirates Airline, who are really focusing on this space, as rather than just traditionally making more TVC type work. A lot of the brands that we work with now understand that they have to invest real money in content that's only going to be visible for 24 hours on vertical video.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're trying to push as much of that good content into highlights on Instagram, but with the rest of the platforms, it's still there for just 24 hours.
Yeah.
So, look, very, very interesting.
And also, like adapting your content into stories is good, but also think vertical. Think how to serve people vertical content specifically on story. It's built for stories.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of brands do that in 2018, and it's definitely going to rise in 2019. We've seen Netflix run a lot of storytelling on stories, just content that's shot specifically for that type of platform, which is something all the brands should be looking at.
And I mean, just the cost to entry is just so low now for
Yeah.
creating high quality video content. I mean, you can buy. I mean, look, you can just use your phone. The latest phones have incredible cameras and stuff on the cameras and the like on them. The apps that you can readily download onto your phone. Simple professional cameras that you can use. Simple setups. There's absolutely no excuse to not be creating high quality content, video content around your brand in 2019. It's something that everybody needs to either start or double down on. It's going to be absolutely critical to communicating whatever it is that you need to communicate to your target market in order to build your brand.
Yeah. One more thing I would like to add is try to add value with your content. So it's not just about shouting about your brand or shouting about what you'd like to say to people, but it goes back to the first point, which is identifying these gaps, what the audience is looking for to see, and serving that right content to them.
Yeah.
Because now with the new algorithm, Facebook and Instagram are definitely prioritizing family and friends over brands.
Sure.
So in order to stand out among that very competitive crowd, and
It's
definitely more important for you,
it's
like
very
as a
difficult.
user.
It's very difficult for a brand to compete with family and friends in
Exactly.
someone's newsfeed, but that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So unless you're actually serving real value to the audience,
Yeah.
unless you're actually catering to their needs, you're just gonna disappear.
It's so
into
true.
the timeline.
The old thought process of just a basic image and a copy and just not really adding value to people's lives through content in one way or another, whether it be inspirational, whether it be educational, or utility. If you're not adding value in one space or another, quickly, especially in 2019, you're just going to get suppressed with the new algorithm, and your content's not going to be engaged with, and therefore over time it's going to die. So it's really important. At no other time have we been in direct competition with family and friends as a brand to compete in someone's newsfeed. So as they're scrolling, you need to be able to stop them, grab their attention, but just think about that. Think about how you're creating the video content. What's happening in the first 2 seconds to make them stop? What is that thumb stopper? Yeah, I have to think about that in terms of process.
Yeah.
What's next, Dali?
Yeah. So one more thing we've seen definitely in 2018 is that conversations are moving into private.
Yes,
so
that's
people
true.
are sharing less and less on the news feeds and sharing more and more into private messaging apps.
Yeah, there's some good data on that.
WhatsApp groups, Messenger groups, all of these apps have just been rising and rising in 2018, and we're definitely going to see the same in 2019.
Which is difficult for marketers to deal with, this dark social, because you don't know what's being screenshotted and sent to a private WhatsApp group. So it's very difficult to see, like, in terms of what your true reach is for your content, because if it's a great piece of work, it might have just been shared straight through to a WhatsApp group, and then can be shared and shared and shared again, and you're not actually going to see any of those metrics. So it's quite difficult to track.
It's quite difficult to track, but also when I see a screenshot of our content being shared in a WhatsApp conversation, someone has shared it with me or anything, I take that as like a higher quality than just
For
a
sure.
share on Facebook. Because someone has taken the effort to take the screenshot and send it to their friends, which is something really important that we need to look at. So how can we utilize the messaging apps in 2019? So for example, WhatsApp is rolling out now the business profiles for brands. And I've seen brands in the Middle East already adopting that. So Kareem and Noon, for example, both have customer service channels on WhatsApp. So instead of just emailing them or calling them, which is something all of us, especially millennials and Gen Z, definitely don't want to do anymore, they just WhatsApp them.
Look, it's critical, that and really doubling down as small or medium or larger brands, really doubling down on your Facebook Messenger game. And really offering real customer service. I mean, it was interesting. Jem was trying to buy something for the company yesterday. Just a random store from the mall. Hit them up on Facebook Messenger, and straight back. This is how many items we have in stock in this store at this location. This is the cost. All of the information was readily available. We didn't have to go searching online. We didn't have to make any phone calls. Everything was there just from a quick message on Facebook Messenger. It's that sort of behavior that's really going to differentiate brands when somebody wants to buy something or they're inquiring. That's a warm or a hot lead. That's a sale ready to be made right there, whether it's a professional services that you're offering or whether it's product. So if you can double down on your WhatsApp game and your Facebook Messenger game and really focus in that space, you will differentiate yourself from your competition in 2019.
Definitely affects brand affinity as well.
Yeah.
It's a story to tell to your friends.
Because the thing is, at the moment, it's still 99% is still between friends. So when a brand does come into that space and operates well, you feel a lot more of a personal relationship. I mean, we even spoke about this yesterday, myself and Jen. The fact that brand is engaging in such a human way that's just so simple. It was literally like we were chatting to a friend that was in the shop just checking the items for us. So because of that sort of that engagement and that interaction, and we still see those channels as primarily friends and family, it automatically, as you said, builds that brand affinity.
Exactly. So we also need to think about Facebook Messenger. So going beyond customer service, how we can actually make a campaign around Facebook Messenger. So pushing people to a chatbot through your website to go to Facebook Messenger, or maybe running a competition through Facebook Messenger. Coca-Cola have done that this summer by a competition, which you just take a photo of your Coca-Cola and share it with them. Here in the Middle East, Masafi have actually run a competition around that as well, where they printed QR codes. I think it's Masafi or Alain, can't remember.
Okay.
Sorry for the brand. But they printed QR codes on the bottles. And you just share it with them via Messenger. And if you hit the right QR code, you just win a prize.
Nice.
It's as simple as that.
Nice. Just simple activations.
Yeah.
So what's next? What's next for Stali?
So talking about private conversations and how word of mouth is starting to be more and more important in 2018, I feel like marketing has taken a full 360, and now we're back to our simplest form of communication, just recommendations from friends. Just the word of mouth is the strongest communication tool right now. So I think we need to utilize that by using actual friends who we call micro-influencers.
Sure.
So people are now more and more trusting of micro-influencers over big celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's...
Sorry, Tom.
Look, the whole influencer conversation could be, I mean, it's a deep one, and we know that. We've been here before, we've had this conversation, but what you're saying is 100% correct. especially as we were saying earlier, especially in 2018, the damage that's been made in the digital space from Cambridge Analytica to just data breach after data breach after data breach. The people are really losing, I suppose, a bit of faith, losing certainly faith. Yeah, I suppose faith in the security of the platforms that we're using, and we're putting so much data on there, we're putting so much information on there, and people are really getting hurt time and time again. Whether it's you personally or it's whether you're seeing, another headline to say, 500 million people's data has been ripped from this company or that company. So, people are in that space of just really sort of losing faith with that game.
Yeah.
So you're very much right. When we start talking about micro-influencers and we start talking about real word of mouth, that sort of the level of engagement that you have with that, the level of the sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? The trust that you have with the with friends and family, with that word of mouth, the micro-influencers, and that it's just a lot more powerful. Right?
Yeah, and your trust in friends will never go away. So we need to utilize that by using these micro-influencers. So maybe in your next campaign, instead of spending this big budget on 1 or 2 influencers, maybe split it across 10 micro-influencers.
Yeah.
The reach, maybe not gonna reach that of a big influencer, but the quality of the engagement itself. For me, I think it's more authentic, because when someone recommends something for me as a friend on Instagram, this is like real. This is a real conversation between me and my friend.
But also, I mean, if we talk about sort of the micro versus the macro influencers, with the macro influencers, we see them week in, week out. This product, this product, this product, this product. You know that they're doing this because they're being paid for it.
Yeah.
So you start to really lose faith in what they're doing as well.
Exactly.
When you start to relate that through to a micro influencer that's very much in this vertical, it could be whatever it might be. Let's say running. I'm interested in that, right?
Yeah.
So someone that, and you can see on their channel, all they do all day long is they're fully involved just in running. So they might have a much smaller account with generally, I mean, to be honest, engagement can still be as much or higher, but a much smaller account, but very, very focused and very specialized in terms of what they do. Now, if they recommend something and they're using it and I can see that and it fits with their lifestyle, I think, wow, okay, well, that guy knows more than I do about running. He's using this product. He's saying it's very good. He's giving the reasons why. Okay, that's a real relevant recommendation to me. But if somebody was, as we were saying, like with a macro influencer with 500,000 followers, that's just one product after the next product. I look at that and I just think, well, how much have you been paid to say that this time?
Exactly. Yeah.
So we lose faith with that.
But definitely there are some micro influencers and big celebrities out there that are just doing content really well and catering to their audience.
Yeah.
And that's why people still trust them.
Like The Rock.
Exactly.
I love The Rock on Instagram. If you're not following The Rock on Instagram, you need to go and follow The Rock on Instagram. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you had some takeaways from that. Jen's going to put a few show notes in underneath, a few points that we've referenced, so hopefully you can take from that as well. Have a great Tuesday, and we won't be back next week because it's almost Christmas. We're all off on holidays, but we will be back after Christmas. So just cruising into the new year. Guys, thank you very much. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.